Shannon, it's time for our favorite annual tradition surrounding
favorite?
Ken Ham, at least. That's our favorite Ken Ham related tradition of the year.
It's so much as you can have a favorite Ken Ham related tradition.
Hammy New Year 2023, everybody.
Happy New Year! Woo!
For those unfamiliar with our tradition, it started back in, I think, 2018 when Ken Ham decided to have some New Year's specials of Answers News where he would wander around the museum and host the show.
Was the first year the year that he was being followed around by an iPhone cord that was attached to the
That's correct.
microphone?
The first year was vertical video back before vertical video was cool,
Yeah.
back when we could have disdain for it.
Right, yes. That's true. That's right.
Now that with the TikTok, he was ahead of his time. Ken Ham,
Yeah.
a man ahead of his time. The second year, I believe, was the fudge year.
And then it was his new room that he built that had like
That's correct.
the
And then for
graffiti.
some reason in 2020, well, I guess, I don't know if there was something globally that was affecting.
I like to think we chased him away.
That's right.
I like to think
Stop
we
doing
ruined it for him.
So we had to go to alternate presentations. And this year, right around Christmas time, the Answers in Genesis channel just put up a message saying, we're not doing anything new between Christmas and January 3rd, which is in the
They
future.
haven't done anything new since the
Well, to be fair, yeah, I guess.
since they began to exist.
We're going to have to improvise. I found something I think suitable and in the same spirit of future Hammy New Year, so we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But recently on my live channel, I covered the last two broadcasts that Answers News did put forth in 2022. And Shannon, these are both, I thought, of interest to you. So we will use these as appetizers, as you will.
Okay.
They're short appetizers to whet the palate, as it were.
Okay.
As CEO and founder of Answers in Genesis, the Creation Museum, and the Ark Encounter, I'm excited to share about this year's end-of-year campaign.
Is this just this idiot asking for money?
Arguably, every video they put out is just a video asking for money.
It's just this idiot asking for money.
You know, the Ministry of Answers in Genesis directly impacts over 30 million people every year.
30 million people are impacted by Answers.
How does he quantify that? Or
So
just
a lot of
over
times
30?
I might poo-poo this number and say, oh, yeah, well, that's like YouTube views or Facebook, whatever. But honestly, he does not get that many views on social media.
Yeah, but his homeschool curriculum is like one of the top selling homeschool curriculums.
Exactly. That's what makes it
Which
so
is the
terrible.
scarier part. Like, I
Right.
would rather more people watch his YouTube videos and less people buy his freaking homeschool curriculum.
Right. That 30 million number is depressing because these are mostly people who will buy into it.
And since they've been opened, the Creation Museum and Ark Encounter have welcomed over 10 million guests. Now, last year, as part of our end-of-year fundraising project, we raised funds to produce the world's largest indoor model of first-century Jerusalem. Understanding first-century Jerusalem gives vital historical background in understanding who Jesus is, how the church was established.
Oh, this smells of anti-Semitism, like wall to wall. He just built like a large indoor monument to why he thinks the Jews are wrong about their own history. Is that what's about to happen here?
I think that's what's about to happen here, yep.
Fuck me.
This model will actually be about 2,000 square feet, divided into 3 large sections so people can walk around and see everything clearly.
So for scale, a large home is like 1,700, 2,000 square feet.
How much do you think that costs? Like, it looks like it's made out of, you know, that type of sand that you can get that the kids use, the kinetic sand?
Oh,
It looks like it's made out of that. How much did this cost?
So this was multiple millions.
Stop. Why?
Yeah,
How?
I will double check the numbers. I believe they raised $7 million for this.
$7 million. How does that cost $7 million?
Does it?
How?
So the question
It
is,
couldn't have.
they can tell the people we need, $8 million to fund this. And I'm not saying Ken Ham is doing this, but hypothetically, $7 million of that could be administrative costs.
Yes, just arbitrarily designated to whoever's bank account to give them a good old attaboy for overseeing this claymation structure that they put in a box in an empty room with bad lighting.
And we'll have a program running using various types of technology to teach about the city and follow the life and teachings of Jesus as the God-man. As our designers have developed this project, we all realized, far more than we expected, how important this is to teach to the coming generations.
So now you've got a little bit more of a view of what the room will be here.
I'm no more impressed than I was prior.
We're no more impressed.
I'm not like, well, now I understand why that cost $8 million.
Perhaps you didn't hear. They're going to be using various technologies, Shannon.
Various technologies. Okay.
I
I don't know how anybody that gave him money could look at this and be like, I'm so glad that I donated. That must have been difficult to sculpt out of plasticine and put in those boxes.
So one of my new hypotheses around Answers in Genesis is that they've determined that they cannot successfully fundraise without building projects. That
Okay.
people don't open their wallets just to keep the place that currently exists open.
Right.
The reason people open their wallets is for new building. And so I think that Ken Ham is expanding his lot on the Ark Encounter there, not because it's drawing so many people. I think it's literally so that he can do these building projects to raise, and we'll get to this year's one, but like last year, if I'm right on the $7 or $8 million number, clearly we're not seeing $7 or $8 million worth of value on screen right now.
No shit. Really? You don't think so? Which is
Well,
why
there's
it
the
gets
sneeze
so-
guard. Don't forget the sneeze guard that they've
The sneeze guard. Yes. You know what's funny? Before you said that, I was like, you know what this reminds me of? Those little standing things in the middle of grocery stores that have like meat in them. It's like they just got like 3 of those
Yeah.
and just molded some clay. Like they couldn't even be bothered to make it the color of sand. It's white.
What we're going to
It's
learn
like-
is in all their planning, they built this model and then they forgot a key element. So they need everyone's help to solve a problem they forgot.
So they're $8 million that they invested into this. They missed a part and now they need to raise more money? Jesus fuck. Okay.
Now, this leads me to our 2022 end-of-year matching gift challenge. You know, it's one thing to design and fabricate such a model with all that teaching, but quite another to be able to house it.
It's already in a room. It's already in a room. What are they talking
Clearly
about?
it's in a
there
room
was
somewhere.
people looking at it in the picture. Where is it now?
It's
And
in a
people are
room.
walking. It's just that room's not good enough. They need a better room. Is that what this? That's not a sufficient room.
Many of our talented staff work countless hours to come up with the best way to construct a building for this unique and powerful exhibit to fit in with the Ark attraction. At the same time, as part of the planning, to be able to accommodate possible future big attractions, like the Tower of Babel.
They've been building the Tower of Babel for 15 years now.
Yeah, I
It's
think
never
that-
happening.
I think that
Stop
is
trying
the,
to make fetch happen. It's not happening.
if they believe the story, really, they're going to bring about the end of society if they do build it.
To do that, we needed to plan for a welcome centre with a new shuttle loading and unloading area where guests would arrive from the parking lot. Now, our designers, in conjunction with construction engineers, architects, came up with an efficient plan to incorporate the building for the Jerusalem model.
You know what that looks like? That looks like one of those medieval feast buildings. It looks like you would go. Tell me I'm wrong. It
You're not
does. It looks
wrong.
like someplace that you would go to eat like an overpriced dinner and watch actors joust with each other.
Oh yeah, like Excalibur in Las Vegas. Yeah, all those.
It's like a medieval times building, only except for it's going to hold their claymation Jerusalem
Right. They
Lego
involved-
project that cost them $8 million.
This clearly involved architectures and engineers. They needed to make sure that their paper mache model was going to be in a.
Do you have any idea how many newspapers we needed to buy? It's hard to find physical newspapers nowadays, guys.
So our end-of-year campaign to fund this combined Jerusalem model building and welcome centre is $20 million.
So he needs $20 million from. He must just be making hand over fist money because he doesn't ever have to fund anything he does himself.
Correct.
Other people just open their wallets and do it. Then he doesn't have to provide any sort of financial breakdown for what he did with the money. Like he
Right.
managed to convince people to give him what, like $7-8 million to build
Right,
that
for the model.
stupid model.
Yep.
And now
And
he needs $20 million to build a building to move the model into, because it's clearly
Right.
already somewhere. They didn't build it in a fucking field. If somebody wants to give me $20 million, I will build the best Lego structure they've ever seen in their life. I'll even paint it different colors, and it'd likely be more historically accurate. And then they can keep it wherever they want. I don't even need my own building. I don't even need 20 million. Give me $75. And I'll do it.
I don't think you've looked at the
We'll
price
do
of
it.
Lego recently.
That's fair. You have to provide me with the Lego.
Okay. So how much? So I have the screen up here now. How much do you think that they raised of that 20 million? They've-
Already?
Yeah, already.
God, I hope it's not that much, but I'm my guess is they've already raised like 5 million or something stupid like that.
So 17 million they've raised in the few weeks that this has been up.
Does that include the matching thing?
Yeah, including the matching thing. But that was only for
17
8.5.
million.
That was only for 8.5. So on the back, I don't know who that donor was, whatever, but on the backs, that's right. They've raised at least
They've raised 8.5.
8.5 million. Yeah. And this only went up a few weeks ago. I think that they have managed to raise $17 million for a project that they probably expected it to cost $1 million,
Mhm.
and that 16 million will go into the pockets of someone. My math might not be exactly accurate there, but that's what it seems like to me.
These guys suck so hard. I hate that they don't have any oversight. That's what really annoys me. Because I am so about integrity, especially when you're operating in the public and you're talking about things like morals and ethics. You should hold yourself to a higher standard of integrity, right? You should be more transparent.
Exactly.
More transparent. You should go out of your way to be transparent, especially if that's your bread and butter, is wandering around talking about how people should and shouldn't be ethical. They have the shadiest business practices on earth, but they hide behind this shroud of, we're doing it for God. Look at all the good work we're doing. We're doing it for God. Just keep giving us money. Just millions and millions of dollars. Keep giving us money. And then we'll charge people to come into the buildings that you paid for and we'll make money. But that's you doing the Lord's work. I wish more people could see that and not give them money.
The average pew-sitting Christian is not actually watching Ken Ham stuff, but what they like to do is feel good that they are reaching the youths and reaching the unwashed masses by giving money. It's easier to give money to Ken than to go and do something on their own.
I mean, he did basically invent filming in vertical video. Which
Perfect.
That's what the kids are all about that.
That's what the kids.
So I encourage you to make a gift today towards this impactful project that will influence millions of people for the kingdom of Christ. Thank you.
That was so cringe. A little thumbs up. Yeah.
All right, so that was appetizer number 1.
Fuck, this is going to be a long day. Is this appetizer number 2?
This is appetizer number 2.
Well, hi, I'm Ken Ham, CEO of Answers in Genesis, the Creation Museum, and the Ark Encounter.
Why does he have money that doesn't exist yet on the screen? King Charles isn't on any money yet.
Well, you're asking good questions. Hold on.
On May 6, 2023, a glamorous event will occur in London, England, the coronation of the King. You know, it's been 70 years since we've seen the coronation for a British monarch. And so the world is going to be watching. People are going to flock to London. And that's why Answers in Genesis USA and Answers in Genesis UK are partnering with our friends at Living Waters for what we call Operation London.
Oh, good. Ray Comfort's involved. This can only get better then. Fantastic.
Now, this is a unique event where we have the opportunity to be able to reach an enormous number of people with the message of the saving gospel.
Are they going to go chick-tract a bunch of fucking people at the coronation? Is that what they're going to do?
So I'm going to let my friend Ray Comfort give you all the details.
I did not sign up to listen to Ray Comfort's stupid face today. Snuck this in the back door.
I did.
That's never cool.
But imagine being able to be in London and hand out thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of these special tracts which Living Waters has produced.
The money is the tract. Oh, I should have known that because that's such a fucking Christian thing to do. When I was a waitress, every once in a while, I would get a tip that was fake money with like a Bible verse on the back of it. And I was always like, you dick. I can't pay my rent with this. You absolute jackass. But thanks. Thanks so much. I should have known. All right. Why would they need money for that? What are they asking for money for this?
You're now
anticipating. Stand in front of people unless he's asking them for money. He never The man is never in front of a crowd unless he's asking for money or saying that gay people are bad. Those are the only two reasons. And he's not saying gay people are bad right now. So he's looking for money. But I don't know why.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse.
Oh, frag's sakes. Okay.
So, Ray, why don't you give them all the details?
This is the British Royal Coat of Arms, and that crown on the lion's head is symbolic of the dominion of King Charles III, especially as defender of the faith.
They're not members of the Church of England, so they're not defenders of the same faith that they would subscribe to. So are they going to go to the coronation as anti-monarchists because it's the wrong church then? Or are they going to just ignore the fact that they don't believe that the Church of England is right and just ubiquitously use faith as a shield to go there and hand it out? Well, because they would never, ever. Yeah, okay, I'm thinking this through now. Yep. And they're never, ever clear on what faith is the right faith because they want people of all different Christian denominations to throw money at them.
Bing, bing, bing.
So they're never going to say one church is or is not right. They need to be as ambiguous as possible so that the most people of the most different denominations can buy into their bullshit and throw money at them.
But
I walked my way there. Took me a minute.
but they do.
I tried to make it make sense. That was my problem.
So Ken Ham also, that he uses us versus them is his predominant fundraising tactic.
Bullshit. I've never seen him. Yes, obviously, yeah.
So you can imagine that they, given that Ken Ham doesn't think that American Christians are Christian enough.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the British Christians are probably super not Christian enough. Because why? Why though?
Well.
Why?
Do you think that they think that King Charles is worthy of a faith-based leadership?
No, probably not, because he's been divorced and he had an affair, and yeah, he's absolutely not. No, like in the good old days, which weren't really good old days. So back in the day, like Camilla couldn't have been
Right.
Queen Regent, which she is right now. So they're going to go to the coronation to let everybody know that Charles is a godless heathen and that they're so weird. This is so surreal. This is like
I know you.
Black
So
Mirror land.
what made me think of, you love the royal
I love
happenings.
I don't love the royals, nor do I
No, but
love their current drama, but I love the history behind it. I find it
right.
fascinating.
So it
Yeah.
is of interest to you, I guess. Shall
Yes,
we
of
say.
course.
So this
Yeah. That is fair.
this is overlapping.
I don't think the monarchy should exist, but I find the history of it interesting.
All right. Let's see where they go.
Even though King Charles is clearly not born again on May the 6th, he'll publicly make an oath before God to defend the Church of England. That's what defender of the faith means.
Oh, is that what defend means? It means defend. Thanks, Ray. Not even a synonym, just the same fucking word, different conjugation. Wow, thank you. Does defender mean defending? Holy shit. My whole life just a huge paradigm shift just happened in my world. Holy shit.
This will be done in England's most famous church, witnessed by hundreds of millions from around the world. In other words, the world is going to church, where they'll join in a service about Jesus, God, and the Bible. King Charles will lay his right hand on the Bible and swear before God to uphold the scriptures. He'll hold the royal scepter as Solomon held the royal scepter.
Solomon have a scepter?
That actually was something I was going to ask you about. Like, so Solomon did have a scepter, but I do not think that the British monarchy inherited symbolism from Jewish monarchy.
No. No, not really. Well, I mean, to a certain degree, because a lot of their iconography is Christian iconography. Like that's why there's a cross on the head of most crowns, for example. It's
Mhm.
Christian iconography because they want to be seen as ordained by God because they want people to respect and uphold them. It's not just the head of. Well, actually, they didn't become the head of a church in England until Henry VIII because he wanted to fuck Anne Boleyn and have a son. And before that, Henry VIII was writing books about how Martin Luther could go fuck off forever
Right.
and that the Pope was the best. But his ex-wife, Catherine of Aragon, was the niece of the Holy Roman Emperor. And they weren't going to let him get a divorce because, of course, they wouldn't. So he just went rogue and was like, guess what? Now I'm the head of the church. I found these obscure passages and it says that I'm chosen by God. I'm the sovereign. Martin Luther's actually not that bad now.
Mm.
But anyway, all that is to say, a lot of that iconography was Christian because in order to be somebody who was leading a state in that time frame, like historically, like through like centuries, you needed to have the backing of the church. But you weren't the head of a church until Henry, who decided that he was going to be the defender of the faith and the head of the Church of England, and that he was going to intertwine the two. So whoever is the sovereign is also the head of the church, so that he no longer had to answer to the Pope. He didn't have to ask the Pope permission
Right.
for shit because he was pissed off because he kept having to ask the Pope if he could do shit. He didn't want to do that anymore. So he went, fine, fuck the Pope. I'm Pope now. Whoever is king or queen, he would have wanted it to always be king because he male primogeniture. But yeah, anyway.
Right, which is actually, I guess, how we got here, which is how King
Yeah.
Charles is suddenly going to be the head of a church.
Yep.
And all this will be done in the name of Jesus, and the secular media will be forced to explain the symbolism.
Will they? No! Will they? Will they be forced? Do you think while the coronation is on, people are going to be like, what's really important is that we explain the meaning behind every piece of kitschy bullshit in this room?
I love his vision that, well, here at the BBC, we hate God, but man, I guess we got to talk about King Solomon now because they just handed him a scepter. So let's just pause this whole thing.
Oh my gosh, of course they're not.
Exactly.
Most of them are going to be yammering about his mom and the drama going on in his family because that's what makes them money. People are
won't be
going to
them
want
panning
to
the
hear
crowd
what
looking at the
Camilla's
outfits.
doing and whether or not Harry and Meghan are there and if they're fighting and how they looked at each other and who isn't invited. That's what the secular media is going to be talking about because they suck. And that's what people give a shit about. They give a shit about the drama that's going on in these people's families. And there's going to be 700 mentions of Princess Diana for sure.
Of course.
Almost going to be talking about the scepter ring, you abject dumbass.
For the first time in 50 years, a church will be on TV.
That's right. We'll never have this opportunity again. After today, no one will even know that. Everyone will just forget that the insides of churches exist, let alone scepters. Could you imagine? Oh, wow. What's he going to do about this, though? How is he going to
I can't wait for you to find out.
Media?
We'll-
My
we'll-
face hurts. That's the stupidest thing.
Those who come to London will see this gospel tract as irresistible
What's $1 million?
memorabilia.
Wait. Did he just say that they were going to see that as irresistible memorabilia?
That is exactly what he just said.
I don't think he's right. People are going to throw those on the ground. They're going to he is just creating a litter situation.
Bing, bing, bing. There's more to it, but he is planning to raise millions of dollars to
The temerity.
litter London, to be a foreigner coming in.
The absolute temerity that it takes to think that that. And how is he going to reach millions of people? I'm still confused about that. This is dumb. Why do they need money for this?
Yeah,
Just to
well,
print these off?
it's clever. It's clever, and you haven't quite got there yet. So
Okay.
It is with all this in mind that we're inviting Christians from around the world to go to London. If you're interested in attending this outreach, go to livingwaters.com/London for more information. Again, the world is not only going to love these, they're going to treasure them.
Wait. So they just invited Christians from around the world to go to London. And then they showed a picture of the tract thing that looks like $1 million with King Charles on it, with free of charge underneath it.
yep.
So they're inviting people to pay their own way to
Yep.
fly themselves to and accommodate themselves in London during the
Yep.
coronation when it's going to be stupid ass expensive to do so.
Yep.
And then they're going to give them this stack of free paper
Yep.
to walk around and advertise their ministry that is going to be funded by other people giving them the money to print off these pieces of paper.
So it said free of charge on screen. It's
Yeah.
free of charge to the people they're handing them out to. You also have to raise your own money for the printing of
Stop it. Wait. The part that's free is that they can hand them out to strangers on the street for free.
It's free to the stranger.
And this costs Living Waters and Answers in Genesis nothing
Correct.
because the people are funding it themselves. So
Correct.
what do they need money for?
There are definitely going to be Christians who want to go to London, who would love to go to this coronation.
For sure.
So now they can go to their congregation and say, let's have bake sales and stuff to send Sally and Mary over to the coronation under the auspices that we will be helping save people by handing out these tracts. So the local church will raise money to send some people to London.
Son of a bitch.
And that money will go to Ray and Ken, who will print the tracts and also take a cut of arranging the money that you give us to do this stuff.
Fucking insidious.
It's a massive pyramid scheme so that thousands and thousands of Christians can come to London and create litter.
And advertise for them for free.
And
While they
and
profit
all-
off of it. God, okay.
We have had over 3 million printed. All we need is thousands of labourers to come to London for a day. Will
No,
you
I
come?
will not
If you
come.
can't,
No,
show this video at your church, take up a collection, and sponsor a team.
You fucking dickheads. If a secular business employed this strategy, it would be illegal.
I think so.
It literally would be illegal. It would be worker exploitation. And they get an attaboy for being so, pious.
Don't let this pass you by.
Oh, it's going to pass me by. It can go right past me, Ray.
We're sending our television crew from California so you can be part of an Operation London television special.
So not only
Fuck, and now his YouTube channel gets traffic that he makes money off of, too.
they're crowdfunding a television special to pat themselves on the back of how they littered London
Wow. With slave labor.
to fully monetize this whole
Fantastic.
thing.
Yeah.
You've wanted to do something great for the kingdom of God, and this is your chance.
Oh my God. They're not doing something great for the kingdom of God. They're doing something great for their ministries so that they can make more money. Oh, my mother of pearl.
So that was
I'm going to
our
get way more sweary as time goes on.
those were our appetizers.
So your appetizer was making me watch 2 videos about how they exploit their audiences for money for just really tenuous reasons with no transparency that involve mass exploitation on an evidently international scale. And now we're gonna start having fun, though, right?
That's right. Yeah, now
Start being fun.
we're gonna
You have
segue that
met
into
me. You knew that this was gonna piss me off.
the well.
That's why I don't watch the shit, man. Oh my God. It's just disheartening. It's not even about
Sorry.
it's not even about the message entirely. It's the people that believe them. And by virtue of believing them, are so susceptible to manipulation by them that they then exploit to make themselves more money with no regard whatsoever for the impact on those people and their lives and their finances. You know what really sucks is you're right. There is no accountability. The closest thing they get to accountability is people like us pointing at it and going, guys, isn't that a bit fucked up? Shouldn't somebody do something? Like, and then we get shit on. How come you're so focused on Christianity? What? Oh, why are you so obsessed? Well, I care about people. Maybe you don't. I don't know. I do. And that seems like that's exploiting people. And maybe some people should give a fuck about that. I don't know. Maybe you don't. Maybe that's you. But I do. So at least get out of my way so that I can try to like demonstrate and point a finger towards something people should be paying more attention to. It's annoying.
Okay, so as we already mentioned, in previous years, this call got kicked off when, Ken Ham was wandering around his attractions, showing stuff off. And
like that dead guy on the floor.
That's right.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was
here to ruin your life.
So just before Christmas, on the Ark Encounter channel, Ken posted a video of himself and Tim wandering around the Ark Encounter in very similar vein of previous years. So I thought, you know what? This will be what I think we'll do. We'll eavesdrop. We'll enjoy Ken and Tim wandering around. But in order to make it more festive and to be more in line with our traditional things, I've added some visual interest to the video. So we'll see if you can spot what I've done.
Oh, God.
Meanwhile,
I didn't know there was a scavenger hunt. This just got way more interesting.
Yeah, I may have oversold it. We'll see anyway.
Oh, okay. You're not going to live up to my expectations. That's
the video itself is called Ken Ham Reveals Hidden Secrets at the Ark Encounter.
Hidden secrets.
Hidden secrets.
Spoiler.
Hi, I'm Ken Ham, CEO of Answers in Genesis, the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter, and I'm here at the Ark Encounter.
Him swaying in and out of the hat.
With the content manager for our attractions division, Tim Chafee. And Tim and I are going to give you just
deal with it.
I didn't have time yesterday to put on.
To make the hat move.
I didn't have time.
You're an animation channel, Paul. Now put the graphic design as my passion. Right. At least Tim's compliant.
Little sort of guided tour through a few of the exhibits at the Ark Encounter and just give you some insights into some intriguing information, some of which you might easily miss.
Are they going to be wearing those hats and everything?
So we got back from our levee party.
Did you do this yesterday?
Yeah.
You were drunk when you did this because we were. That checks out.
And
that explains it. And you were like, you know what would be a good idea if I put tiny hats on.
That'll make it more fun for everybody.
Oh my God, you need better supervision.
Well, here we are under the Ark as you leave the Key Lane Gardens. But most people wouldn't think to look up and look at the floor. It's a wooden floor. It's the bottom of the ship, right?
That's right.
But actually, our architects called this the sandwich. And do you know why?
I'm going to guess it's because just above this, we have a layer of concrete that was required for building code.
That was required for building codes? Wait a minute. So there's a layer. So their hidden secret about their like super accurate, biblically accurate ark is that they used concrete to build it, just like Noah did. Is that that's why he inserted it was building code. Building code. We totally didn't want to insert concrete into it, but we had to in order for it to be stable enough to house people.
That's right.
But it totally would have been fine if we did it.
We've created a 30-minute video designed to make you want to come here, and we're starting with the sub-basement concrete.
So we have the wood underneath it, and then we have the flooring above it. So
exactly, and it's a sandwich. Well, we had to do that for fire code. Yep. So I'm assuming Noah wouldn't have had a big concrete layer at the bottom.
No shit. What?
That probably wouldn't help with flotation very much.
Oh my God. It's really hard to take him seriously with his fancy hat.
Maybe from now on my channel, I should just put hats on all the apologists.
Yes, tiny hats on everyone. Team tiny hat. Yes, please. Everyone gets a hat.
To build a tourist attraction like this, you have to obey the fire codes.
That's right.
So we hid the concrete.
Yep, and Noah probably didn't have those same sort of codes that we do.
I'm sure he didn't. If he did, he'd never be able to get all the animals on board.
That's right.
I think he's trying to say a ship made of cement wouldn't float. I'm not sure. I'm not a scientist.
I also feel like Ken he's anti-regulations as well.
Yeah, well, yes, for sure. I think that's fair to say.
So Tim, as we walk in the entrance to the Ark,
I'm not going to be able to focus on anything with the hats.
That's why I did
the
this.
rest of my life. They're barely keeping up with them going.
I worked on Star Wars.
You did. You did. You should put this on your CV for the
I'll
next
put
time
this
you
on
want to
my
work
reel.
in film.
That's right. This will be on my
Because
reel.
this is fucking next level shit, man. Oh my God.
After you come up the ramp and go past Photo FX, and we're going in on the bottom deck into the Ark. Of course, this is not how Noah would have entered. We have the one big door in the side of the
Right.
Ark. There's a section here that is a great teaching point. Could you explain
I
that?
love all of the reasons that this is not like Noah's Ark. We should have a running tally of all the reasons that can't Ham's Ark. Is it like 1, it's made of cement. 2,
Two, has
it's filled
multiple
with doors.
Has multiple doors.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people will say that there's no way you can build a wooden ship this large and have it float. Well, there's an engineer
Filled
from
with
Australia that
cement,
you know, Tim Levitt.
Like I said, I'm not a scientist. I feel like cement boats are
In a
less
way,
prone to float.
in a way, the God who created the universe could make a boat full of cement if he wanted to float if he
Yeah,
wanted to.
fuck physics, man.
That's right.
God hates physics.
They should
If
just
anything
embrace
I've
that.
learned, fuck physics.
They should just embrace that side of it. They built this $110 million attraction to show that this is plausible. Why not just say, this is a book where Jesus walks on water, so he could definitely take this non-floatable item and make it float. Like, just lean into it.
God could just magic that shit.
Now, don't miss this sign here, artistic license. This is real important because the Bible gives us some details about the Ark and the people involved, but there's a lot it doesn't say, and so we use artistic license throughout the Ark encounter. Tim, explain.
That's right. In order to flesh out the narrative, in order to help people understand that these were real people, we named the women at the Ark, even though the Bible doesn't give us their names.
Bitches. Women are people.
Listen, Shannon, I know it's not biblical, but we gave them names, all right?
I love that that's their example of artistic license. We gave these bitches names. you understand that's not biblical, right? Bitches didn't have names in the Bible. We're progressive. Oh my God, my face hurts. Oh my God.
And so we've got some signage explaining that we used our artistic license or artistic license.
Artistic license. Wow.
Clever.
Let's all take a minute.
A lot of dad joke lovers visit the Ark.
That doesn't even elevate to the level of dad joke. That's not even punny.
You could actually look for artistic license that's been applied all throughout the 3 decks.
That's right. And some of the exhibits where we featured a little bit more, we actually have signage in there telling people that there's a lot of artistic license in this particular.
Is this just a whole vignette of them justifying all of the reasons that the Ark isn't actually what they say it is?
Now that you've pointed it out, this is a 30-minute apology video as to why what they've done isn't biblically accurate.
Right. That's what it seems like.
No.
Now, as visitors enter the Ark, you'll see the cages there immediately, but don't rush past them. These cages aren't just props. I mean, they're there to represent cages with animals in that Noah would have had on board, but actually they're working cages, Tim.
Yeah, they're functional. And what we wanted to show is how can 8 people care for, just under 7,000 animals, which is probably a little bit of a high estimate of the number of animals. But when you think about it, if you had efficient cages like this, you don't have to feed every single animal every day. You fill this little chute up with food, and that can last for about a week for some of the smaller animals, and this with water, similar to what you might find with your hamsters or your gerbil.
Where are they storing all of this water and this food?
Well, that's a good question. The food, they do have answers for food. I think
I'm guessing there's rainwater gathering because it was
right.
raining quickly.
They have an elaborate system of water reclamation. Not only gathering, but you have to get rid of the outgoing water, as it were.
Were there no carnivorous animals?
So,
Like, where do you keep the meat? Like, how did cats stay alive? Cats are carnivores. They're obligate carnivores.
so remember in Eric Hoven's movie where there was a dinosaur eating watermelons that he plucked from a tree?
Yes, I vividly remember that bullshit. Yes, I do. Yeah.
So they all agree that the physiology of the animals was entirely to be vegetarian up until Eve sinned. And then when Eve sinned, suddenly then the cats started wanting to eat
So
meat.
cats were obligate carnivores before they went on the Ark.
This is where the Young Earth ministries disagree on. That's one point.
This is where their speculative, hypothetical scenarios that they need to use to prop up their bullshit varies.
So, and again, I think they're smarter just to lean into, sure, a God who created the universe could make cats live for a year without mice, right? Like without eating meat. You could, if it has that kind of power, you could make it happen. Magic it. Like, I just think they should lean into the magic it.
But that's not what they're trying to do, though. They're trying to make it seem as though, from a secular perspective, it's reasonable. Which is why their little tour of, here's all the things that we had to do that are not biblical, are actually totally excusable and it didn't matter anyway because it was just the government making us do it. We didn't want to name these bitches. The government made us.
So in the Russell Crowe Noah movie, the one smart thing that movie did, which I had not heard of prior, it probably had been around, Noah's wife in that movie lit a certain type of incense that just kept the animals, basically knocked them out and kept them asleep for a
she
year.
hibernated. She made them hibernate.
Yeah,
Even why aren't they as smart as movie writers?
Right? So it was. I thought that was brilliant because yes, if God could just
God-induced
put them,
hibernation would be the better answer.
hibernation for a year is the best possible answer to this.
Fucking A, yeah.
But Ken's already built his whole thing where we've got modern day plumbing.
He can't shift gears now. Yeah.
No,
God, that would have been a better answer. That would have been. I mean, it's still refutable.
Sure.
But it's easier, like on a large scale, to defend than all.
Well, sure, because the 8 people are literally like having to shovel poop and get rid of stuff out of one single window that the ark had.
Yeah.
Right. And feed the animals and store the water. Yeah, like just being asleep for a year is the best answer.
Cages at home. And then as far as cleaning the cage goes, you don't have to get in there, pull the animal and clean it all the time because the flooring is made of the same sort of bamboo like this, so the waste can drop through there onto this ramp system that goes all the way down to the bottom, and then all you have to do is
what is he talking about? Like this? Like I can't see what he's pointing at.
So if they're saying
it says that the waste drops through, but the cages are stacked on top of each other. So it drops through on what? The animal's head below?
Yes, that means you're pooping on the animal below you until the poop gets all the way to the bottom level,
which is filled with bacteria. Like all of these animals would have shit themselves to death of dysentery.
Yeah. So the only 2 muskrats in the whole world were getting crapped on by the only 2 lemurs in the world.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Which were getting crapped on by the only 2 hamsters in the world, or hamsters part of mouse kind. I don't know. I don't know what the cladistics are in this insane picture of bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is not a satisfactory answer to me at all.
No. I don't know why it's satisfactory to anybody. They're literally showing that these cages are stacked on top of each other. And he's saying, don't worry about the waste because it just falls through the bottom. And there's just in view 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels of cage.
You know the phrase, "The crap rolls downhill."
Yeah.
The bottom. And so we've got all of our smaller cages set up this way, just to represent how, if you're using a little bit of ingenuity.
Wait. You can see the bamboo slats now.
Yeah.
Like, that's what waste is supposed to fall through?
So there's a little ramp on the bottom shelf that the waste just rolls into the aisle.
So if you're a human going through to feed, like you wake up in the morning, you're going to go feed the 1,000 rats and ferrets.
Right.
And in an enclosed space with no ventilation.
There's one window on a 500-foot boat. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no ventilation in here whatsoever. And you're doing that every day, multiple times a day.
Yep.
Inhaling that, walking through that, and they all just were fine.
They're
right?
fine.
Like none of them got any illnesses related to that kind of exposure. Like if they wanted this to be correct, why don't they keep animals in the cages? Probably because it would be against animal cruelty laws. So they couldn't.
That was what he was hinting at.
Unsustainable.
Yep, in that opening vignette, he's like, yeah, ha, ha, they wouldn't let us put animals in here, ha, ha, ha.
Yep. Yeah, yep. I fucking bet.
Yep.
No one would want to put an animal through that. They'd die.
Yep.
They'd die. And the caretakers would die.
No one's buying Ark Encounter scented candles because that would not smell good.
Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow thought she had the market cornered on the worst candle idea in the history of the world. Nuh-uh.
Well, as you walk past Noah and his family praying and then walk into the main part of deck 1, the second row of what are called lodge poles, right here, these are actually Engelmann spruce.
That's right.
And they come from Utah. They were dead standing trees, and so harvested under forestry license because they were dead, and we were able to get these. Now these, you can look all the way up there and see how far up they go, but I'm going to show you how big these are. I'll put my, see, I can't get all the way around. Okay, Tim, you're much taller than I am. See what you can do.
I can see it. You're on camera. Oh my fucking God.
No, so we need to hug it.
This is so stupid. Like, I can literally see it.
You can only get to there.
Yeah, well, if I get a little closer, but I can't get all the way
See if both of us can make it around. If we put,
I think we can. Let's see. There's your hand.
Yeah.
There we go.
Ken took the side without having to stand on the stool. The 17-foot tall dude has to go try to stand on a stool where his head's going to clearly hit the ceiling.
They had to make a special promo video because a lot of people were coming to the Ark and they weren't hugging the poles.
I promise if you let me come, Ken, I will hug that pole. I will hug the fuck out of that pole. I don't want to be distracted by this pole anymore, though. This is all vamping, it seems, because they need to talk about how this is a storage area that I'm assuming is like where food is stored to feed all of these animals in these little pots.
Yep.
With these cloth covers.
Yep,
so
Tupperware.
That's ancient Tupperware. Ancient cloth Tupperware. So after 2 to 3 days, when these pots are empty, because you have to use them to feed everything from a cricket to a dinosaur,
Yep.
then what? How do you replenish the shit that's in these pots?
They won't show it on today's video, but they suggest that perhaps that there was a whole hydroponic section of the ark.
A hydroponic section of the ark.
Yes.
Okay, it requires a great deal of artificial light to operate. Where did the light come from?
Well, maybe you set up a system of mirrors to, I don't know, light
From that one
reflect
window?
yeah.
Were they growing hay?
Look, if you're
Were
just
they
going to go ahead and say God made the lions eat cabbage for a year, is that less? Does it matter what kind of plant they're eating?
Well, I mean, it does if the excuse is there's one room and that room is a hydroponics room because
they all
different
ate cabbage.
plants, they all ate cabbage.
Yeah, well, because why not? If
All
you're
of
just gonna,
them. So
this
the
is where they need to
cats
lean
and
into the
dinosaurs
cats and dinosaurs
and
and
the
koala
crickets.
bears and
that can only survive off of eucalyptus leaves.
right. But for this year, they ate
They ate
cabbage.
cabbage. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're just gonna suspend reality and say magic every time.
I know. Well, this is where I think that they've struck the exact wrong balance, in my view, because they've tried to make it seem like that there are scientific and logistical explanations for it, but they never quite get 100%. So the last 10% always has to be covered by magic. So just why not 100% magic it? Yeah. That doesn't sell tickets, though.
Because they're trying to say science supports the magic.
Right.
And actually, this is the biggest tree, I think, in the whole ark. This is the biggest one
Wow.
right here.
Ken's really impressed by how big that pole is.
He's got big pole energy.
You got I know, and he wants other people to hug it too. He's like adamant about it. Hug the pole, Tim.
See my big pole?
And you mentioned looking up, you can see all the way up. If you just step back into this area, a lot of people will walk right through without ever noticing. But if you just stop and look up, you'll see all the way up to the top of the ark and you'll be pretty amazed.
And actually, there's a number of places you can do that. So remember that as you're walking through, to look upwards when you see places where you can do that.
I feel like if you're a visitor, you don't know where those places are, so you just have to constantly look up.
Look up. When you find places where you can do that, is there a place in the ark you can't look up? Because I feel like looking up is something you could do in every room. Also,
You know what, with Tim there, maybe you could make a sign where the places where you can look up.
so how did Noah write down the story of what happened then in a language that anybody could understand? How was any of the Bible before the Tower of Babel written in a language that anybody could discern?
That 100% is a great question. And yeah, you'd have
I'm
to
a
then
fucking
assume
genius.
that for some reason, Moses and the Israelites in general, that somehow God spared them from getting their language deviated from what Adam originally spoke.
Yeah.
That God kept that one thread of people who kept the
Who could
original
communicate
Adam
with one
Eve
another.
language. Because if you hypothesize anything else, you're right. Then suddenly any stories or any documents that were handed down
I'm fucking pumped for the Tower of Babel tistic license sign that Tim's going to make. Because you'd have to explain that away too, right? There would need to be one strain of language, written or verbal, that was retained.
Easy answer to that is that the Holy Spirit just told Moses what to write down, right?
Okay.
Except in this very Ark exhibit, they have scrolls that they hypothesize that Adam and Noah and various people wrote down so that Moses would have reference material.
Well, that's a shot in the foot.
Yeah,
Because how's he speaking the same language that no longer exists anymore? How does he understand that? Because basically they're circumventing the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
As you walk down deck one on the left, you'll see an area here where there are bats. And there's an important reason why we have this particular exhibit, because there's a number of different species of bats. We think there's probably only one kind of
So
bat.
they're saying we really only needed to house 2 bats, but we had so much room we could have housed more anyway, so you guys can't say shit to us.
That's exactly right.
Gotcha. But just for bats.
Just for bats.
Just bats specifically.
Don't ask us where we put all the brontosaur kinds.
What were they eating? Cabbage.
Cabbage.
Sorry, I forgot. Everybody was eating hydroponic cabbage.
Mm-hmm.
Got it from that one window. I wish I was better because I can't keep a plant alive in a window without water it. Every plant in this house is a fake plant because I, a full-grown human person, cannot keep a plant alive with access to sunlight
No.
and plentiful water.
So we have represented in here 24 different kinds of bats. And because they're flying creatures, and we chose to take 7 pairs of each flying creature.
Oh, are those those aren't real bats, are they? Are they keeping real bats?
No, these are taxiderm
Oh,
bats.
they're dead bats. Oh, that's sad. Okay. Well, at least they're not torturing living bats, I guess. Fuck. God, these guys suck.
As noted, no governing body on Earth is going to let Ken Ham keep live animals in this.
Right, because they would die.
Yeah.
Like, I am not for animal cruelty, but part of me is like, why don't we just let him keep some animals in there and see what happens? Just
I would settle for it. Let's take Ken and Georgia and Tim and Bodie, like the 8 top employees.
mm-hmm.
You guys have to live in the Ark boat for a year.
Oh, I would love that.
And you don't get to leave.
I'd watch that reality show. Hundo. I would buy a subscription to whatever.
That's right. That would be
streaming platform is.
We'd sign up for Answers.tv.
But don't sign up for Answers.tv. This is not an endorsement.
No.
So this is a great illustration of how we might have overestimated the number of animals, just to show that even with that higher number, they can fit in the Ark.
Could be just one kind.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
Actually is, I think, the motto of Answers in Genesis. Answers in Genesis. Could be.
Maybe. If you suspend any belief
You can't
in
say it's
how things operate in
impossible.
reality.
We're at the bow end of the Ark, and we're on the first deck.
Where are we
and
now?
This is a cutaway model of the Ark.
We're
How
gonna
much
know-
cement do you think's in that model? Is it made of cement? And why
It's
isn't
made
it
of
floating in water? If they were fucking smart,
Oh,
they would have it.
they should have done that.
They should have had it in water to prove that it could float.
That took 6 months to build, and quite a number of people involved in this, and one main person.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll notice that the cages and the jars look exactly like the ones that we have in the Ark.
You'll notice that the model that we built
The model
to
that we
represent
built.
the ark that we built has some tiny models that look like the larger versions of models that we put in the ark that we built. This is the standard of evidence that we're working with. That's fantastic.
And this is meant to show how Noah could have actually loaded the Ark, because
Are you leaving these hats in? I hope you leave these hats in
I
so that
hadn't
people can see the type of shit that you do when you're drunk.
I hadn't
People
planned
are
to
gonna
leave.
think I'm out of my mind.
To
So
reference
I
them.
moved Paul to Nova Scotia and he went to a levee, which, for those who don't know what a levee is, on New Year's Day, we all start drinking at 11 a.m. and listen to music and have a great time with all of our friends and everyone in the community, and we eat food and drink. So Paul did that yesterday and came home and decided that it would be a good idea to put New Year's hats on Tim and Ken. You can't see them, but I can, and they make no sense. Feel like this is a plan that was orchestrated to make me look like I'm out of my mind.
Right. This is a big gaslighting thing. And I'm like, Shannon, no one else sees hats. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is a very cleanly edited professional video, Shannon. I don't know why you're ruining this for everybody by talking about imaginary hats. I should take a screenshot of this.
Yeah, no,
I should post this on Twitter and be like, just for the record, when everybody watches this video later. I'd also like to thank the people on Twitter who have been sending me cat pictures since I posted it. Because I was like, I can't fucking even. I was so annoyed that I was like, send cats. And people on Twitter sent me pictures of cats, and they're sustaining me right now.
I think in the spirit of this, we should have really asked for only taxidermy cats to be posted.
Oh my god! Wait, could you imagine? Do it. You fucking do it right now. Do it right now. See what happens.
Oh no, I can gaslight you later on this. That's no problem.
No, I got a picture. There's photographic evidence. I'm making sure you're in frame too. Take that.
millions of people have come through this Ark, so it has to be set up for guests to be able to walk through, and we obey fire codes and all that.
Yet
sort of
another
thing.
reason. This is
Yeah, you're gonna be fun. You gotta obey the fire codes.
This is why we couldn't make the Ark really work.
Yes, because in reality, when there's regulation of any kind to
That's
keep
right.
people safe, you're not allowed to do that shit.
But back in Noah's day, they could pack thousands of cages.
Paul, I don't think what you're understanding is that the tiny pots look the same as the larger pots.
Oh, I see.
And if the tiny pots they made look the same as the larger pots they made, then the Bible's real.
Then could be.
But this shows you how it could have been loaded.
That's right. You mentioned that it took a long time we had one person working on it. You know, he was so dedicated to it. When we were, right before we were opening,
What's happening here is Tim is telling a story of how it took one guy 6 months without ever going home or taking bathroom breaks, built to the model that they're standing in front of.
And he's probably a volunteer.
Took him 6 months, but yet the whole proper Ark was somehow conceivably built by a family of 8.
Oh my God, yeah. That's a really good point. So it took 6 months for a guy to build a tiny version of this
Right.
by himself.
By
with
himself.
access to all the modern technology
Correct.
available in the world.
Yep.
And probably financial backing.
Yep.
Had all of his, whatever he needed supplied to him.
And also
on
like
demand.
electricity so that he could work instead of just when the sun
Day
is
and
out.
night. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And that it took him 6 months to make this model.
Yep.
but 8 people with none of that technology
Correct.
or those resources
Built the whole thing
in
in
a
a
year.
year.
And like, if they were really going to be accurate, why didn't they get 8 people to build it? Because they weren't God-inspired people? Or because
Regulations, Shannon.
regulations.
They'd
Not
have
as
done it.
easy to get people to build an ark as it is to get them to fucking fly to England and hand out pieces of paper. Pieces of shit.
Here, can you fly across the ocean and throw this on the ground for me?
This video.
This will be the first time in over 6 months that I've done anything except for the half arc model.
I bet
That's
that
a
guy who
half
built
arc.
this.
That's a half arc.
It's a half
Took him
arc.
6 months to
Oh,
build
that's
half
right.
an
Yeah,
arc.
so it would have taken him a year to do the full
Half
arc.
an arc. He didn't even have to make that shit watertight. I promise you that won't float. That ain't floating. It doesn't even have any cement in it, and it still won't float. Still won't float.
Look how cruelly we can pack the animals in when no one's asking us to regulate things.
Right?
Mhm.
Fuck.
And so if you're wondering if your favorite animal was on there, well, there's a list of every single one of them over there.
Your favorite animal. Yeah, that's my problem. What about my favorite animal?
Where were the red pandas?
I fucking love those red pandas.
I know, me too. It's
They're
my
so
favorite.
fucking cute. Yeah, but that's not my concern though.
No.
Also, it's only 3 levels. I somehow thought it would be more than 3 stories high.
It's just 3 stories, yeah.
Interesting.
I think that is
Okay.
biblical, so yeah.
Okay. That's fair. At least they didn't arcturpret.
Right.
Artistic.
Right.
They didn't artistic the height of it. So
They didn't.
there you go.
Yeah, they didn't make it
They just artistic naming bitches. Oh, my
That's a
God.
bridge too far. Yep.
Ken's basically a feminist.
It really
Basically.
is.
He's essentially a feminist. He's a third wave feminist, the way I see it. He was just naming bitches left and right. Just giving them names.
Even with a worst case scenario figure, 1,398 animal clients, you could fit all the animals needed on the ark.
That's right.
That's the worst case scenario. Okay, 1 second. 1 second.
All right, we're going to
You're
math
just
now.
going to have to wait.
Getting out a spreadsheet.
I might. There are 8.7 million species of animal on Earth.
Right.
So in 6,000 years,
Yeah, so divide that number by 6,000.
1,450.
So divide that by 365.
3.97.
So that means that every single day since the flood,
4
There
new
have-
species.
4 new species every single day.
Every day.
Every day. So
To
in
today.
2023 so far, there should have been 8 new species.
So how many new, like, when do they think species stop just popping up? Because there's 8.7 million.
Right.
Let's do how much until Jesus was born? Let's just say that they'll say when Jesus was born was when species.
So that would
stopped.
be like 2,000 years of it.
Oh, that's not helpful. That means that there was a 11.88524599.9016 species. So 12-ish
so
species a day.
Every day you wake up. Yeah, every day you wake up and there's hey, there were no zebras yesterday, but now we got
Now there's
zebras. Neat.
That's fucking bananas. Like, that's like, how can anybody look at the math and think to themselves, yeah, checks out.
Yep.
And would have had to have happened at that pace. And then suddenly just went,
Exactly. Just stopped.
stopped for no reason. Just for no reason.
They never talk about it, but the hyper evolution that they have to accept is so far beyond
Right?
the changes that we're talking about with, oh no, it's happened over billions of years. Like that, they already say it can't even happen in billions of years. But no, we're 11 species a day.
The transition.
Now, as we're walking up the first ramp to the second deck, don't miss what's on the left-hand side. As you look down, what do we see down here, Tim? All the way up here, there are all sorts of props.
Yeah, so we've got different tools or simple machines that Noah and his family might have used to help them in what they were doing. So this one is actually a rope maker. It's
So they
functional.
had metallurgy.
Yep. If Noah's family could file patents, they were.
That's amazing that
Yeah.
they had this degree of ability and access to all of these alloys too, right? Like, they were able to melt and form and create molds for.
Yeah, they were smelting things.
Were able to acquire, they were rich enough to acquire enough iron and smart enough and capable enough and had access to the manufacturing equipment to create this type of machination. That's good for them. I can see why God chose them, because wow.
Wow. They are the Elon Musk of their day.
Like, seriously, 6,000 years ago? So Noah was in and around the Middle East, just a nondescript family, just like a normal family. Like,
Well, they were
Probably
the
peasant
only,
class,
they were
right?
the
'Cause they
only
wouldn't have
nice
been upper-
ones. Everyone else was sinning.
they were one of the nice ones. And if everybody
Yeah.
else was sinning and profiting off of sin because capitalism is bad, turns out. So they probably didn't have access to a huge amount of money. The idea that they would have the ability to acquire all of this, not just wood, but alloy, like they would be able to get this volume of metal, and not only get this volume of metal somehow in a year,
hmm
but be able to smelt it and create the molds required and have the blacksmithing technology and expertise required to create all of these elaborate systems. I mean, impressive. I
It
can
is
see why were they counterfeiting money? Is counterfeiting money not a sin?
No, because Ray Comfort already showed us that that's not. Because clearly he's.
Oh, neither is littering. Or exploitation.
Again, I think they should have just leaned into the magic. It's like it didn't matter how crappy Noah made this boat, God can make it float. Like they should have just leaned into that.
They will absolutely never do that because their entire shtick is that science backs this up. I understand that they're thinking that they're proving a point because this is archaic technology, right? But the fact of the matter is, if this was the type of technology that somebody of that time, who was also the person who was building this boat, had access to, the idea that they wouldn't have incorporated this type of technology into the boat building because God specifically said, you need to build a boat based on these criteria. Like you didn't have to go hug that tree and make you didn't have to get that deadwood tree that everybody hugged to see how big it was. Like you could have actually utilized it. You could have increased your available space by using a material that takes less space and is stronger, taking up less space, like a metal, because they had access to metal. Why isn't the pillar system internally utilizing metal? Why aren't the cages made of metal? Like they had metal. You're saying they had metal right now.
Yeah.
But you're saying they used it in the stupidest way possible. Like God wanted these people to survive. And it wasn't magic. It wasn't magic. Absolutely was not magic. It was ingenuity. And they were smart enough to build all of these things to make rope out of metal, but weren't smart enough to recognize that metal was something that you could reinforce structures with, even though they were apparently very elaborately competent blacksmiths who were capable and competent in metallurgy. But they didn't recognize that, but they could use it to make rope.
That's
like,
right.
Get the fuck out of town.
This is where they double dip and they use a double standard and they have their cake and eat it too. So they will use archaeology and say, oh, look, 5,000 years ago, we have archaeology that shows they had this kind of rope making technology, blah, blah, blah.
Of course they did.
But they won't do is like when we say, oh, look, archaeology shows that 15,000 years ago they had X, Y, or Z. They're like, that's imaginary time.
That's so stupid.
That doesn't even exist. I also want to point out now that there are a flood of, if you look at my thread on Twitter, there's a flood of taxidermy cats now on Twitter.
God damn it. That was a mistake. I'm not going to look at that because I wanted real cats.
All right. Your thread.
Oh no. No, I can't even have solace in Twitter because of the sad joke.
All right.
That ass that I was anticipating.
That's right. And a lot of times because they're looking up here, which we don't want to take that away too. I mean, make sure you're looking at this, you get to see the structure. And when you're in the ramp, that's one of the best places to do that.
This is one of the places, Shadow, where you can look up.
Muppets in Space reference? No. People are really missing out if they're not following our drunken tweets about this, understanding what it's about. The OG fans, the fudge people,
That's right.
They will know this time of year. You got to watch our Twitter because both of us are going to get drunk and tweet random shit that's related.
That's right. So if you're hearing this part of the video, that means I have, between when we recorded and when he posted it, been sober enough to make fudge shirts because I've always meant to do fudge shirts. So if you're hearing this, click in the description and you yourself can get a fudge shirt. Fudge.
Drink.
Right,
That's the best drinking game ever made. That's the best young Earth creation.
We're now on the second deck, and as we're walking along this
Are we ready?
Bathroom,
we come across the restrooms. Now, there are restrooms on each deck, first deck, second deck, third deck. Why would we stop at the restrooms? Well, first of all, we have male and female restrooms.
Oh, you motherfucking fucker! Is he going to use this opportunity to be a transphobe? Is that what's about to happen? He can fuck off into the sun. Like, honest to God, like what? Why?
Why? We made a promo video for our attraction for you to come see in Kentucky.
But we want
in the
to make
middle
sure
of
that
it,
you know we're still transphobic.
Yep.
It's just very important to us.
That's right.
That you know we're still transphobes. Let's interject that here. Sons of bitches. It's a trash humans who are taking an opportunity that isn't even necessary. Like they can just continue on their anti-science propaganda journey and not say shit. But they wanted to make sure they took a moment to be transphobic.
because we believe in two genders, right, Tim?
That's right. God made them male and female.
Exactly. Genesis 1:27.
God made you guys shitty people. God made you shitty people, male and male. Shitty people. Like trash goblins. Like why, what did trans people ever do to these assholes? Nothing. Exist on Earth? In their periphery? Want rights? What?
And also, what better way to say you trans people are not welcome here?
I doubt that there's trans people clamoring to go. Like,
Probably not.
But the restrooms are actually in a tower. In fact, there are 3 towers that the Ark is anchored to, and you put all those towers together, they're about the size of a 200-room hotel. Not only do they house the restrooms and sort of keep them out of the Ark itself.
Yes, that's right. They should let everybody shit in the small animal cages so that they can prove that they work.
And on the different
stupid
levels, he specifically mentioned it's on level 1, level 2, level 3. You should just let that roll down.
For science, I should really be able to drop a load wherever I want in that Ark. Like, also, if I walked in there, what's their test for whether or not I'm trans? What's their barrier of entry? What is it, do you think?
Yeah, you want you to flash the genitals? They want you to have a DNA test that shows
No,
the
it's
XY
presentation.
chromosomes.
They're not going to stop a passing person from going in. They're absolutely not going to stop a passing person, a binary passing person
They
from
will
going
not.
in either.
You're correct.
They're not.
No.
Because their barrier for entry is passing as the socially accepted aesthetic presentation of the gender they've assigned to that bathroom. So I really hope I'm certain trans people have probably used the bathroom that they deserve to be able to use. I don't know why they would give him money and go in a stupid fucking non-boat. But this is such performative transphobia just for the sake of saying that they're transphobes.
Right.
That's all this is. It's just, hey, just in case you were wondering, people that we're pandering to who are transphobic that we would like to give us money, we are absolutely transphobes. Totally, we are.
Yeah,
We
check that
just
off
took this brief moment in time to let you know we're transphobic because God knows that what Jesus wanted was for marginalized people to be absolutely relegated to the outskirts of society and not supported at all, and attacked whenever you have any arbitrary opportunity to do so. God, he's the worst person. He is the worst person. Like he's taking a little bigotry break right now.
Yep, he absolutely is.
He's like, we didn't need to be bigots today.
Nope.
We were talking about something entirely fucking different than this. But if I have the opportunity, it's very important to me that I make sure you know I'm a bigot.
Yep.
That these fucking bitches are the ones who act like they're victims because Christianity is people who are Christian are being victimized for their beliefs. Are you fucking serious right now? Like, are you fucking serious right now? When you take a bigotry break on your enormous platform where you can get millions of dollars just fucking given to you so you can put your claymation fucking Lego building in a different building.
Yeah.
You're the victims here because sometimes people want to pee.
Yep.
And you don't like it? Get the fuck out of town. Get out of town. Like, I fucking hate them. Like, they're bad people. They're bad people. Bad people. If you give them money, you're a bigot. You're a bigot. You're a bad person and you're a bigot. If you give them money. Bigot. Own it. Just own your bigotry. Just say it. Say, I'm a bigot and I'm giving these people money because I like the fact that they propagate bad, reprehensible, disgusting narratives about people that I don't like. And I like that. I like it. It makes me feel better. It makes me feel superior because I'm a bigot, you bigot. Fucking bigots.
Answers News has shifted from stories about anti-evolution to the anti-LGBTQ commentary because perception about evolution doesn't open people's wallets up as much as
polarize them. They're not as afraid of it.
Yep. This part of the video where he talks about the bathrooms is oddly enough the one that is most likely to get him donations and most likely to get him visitors to his park.
It's all about money.
That's exactly
all about money, you stupid idiots. Everything he does is about getting your money, and you fucking lap it up at the detriment of other people. Good Christians. Good job. Good job, Christians. Being great Christians. What would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? He would make sure that every marginalized community felt even more marginalized and attacked and was miserable. That's what Jesus would do. Absolutely. And he would give money to people like this guy who's got more than enough money, camel through the eye of a needle and all that. Fucking Jesus. Read a Bible. Good. Read what Jesus said then. He said some good shit. I don't think he's God, but he said some good shit, and most of it wouldn't support this asshole. Whatever the fuck he's trying to do. Although I said fuck, so I must be a worse person, right? Because God knows that swearing is worse than marginalizing people. Anyway, what do the bathrooms look like?
When you go to the zoo afterwards, if you look back at the ark, you can see those 3 towers and how massive they are.
And that's why when people say to me, would the ark float? I say,
No. Is the answer. The answer is just no. Because it's made of cement and it's attached to a building. And it's on pillars.
not this one because there are massive holes in the side where the towers are connected.
That's right. Building codes again.
Building codes again. That's right.
Yeah, if you built this according to the Bible, no one would last here even an hour.
Because
So-
building codes. Fucking government. It's weird, right? Man, God's word, though. I wonder what the reason is that the government doesn't adhere to God's word when
Right.
it comes to building codes. You would think that would have been the perfect one because people had to survive in it with every animal on Earth for a year. You think that would have been the perfect building code? Guess not.
Well,
Guess
I don't-
not!
A lot of the city councils are pushing to have everyone who's menstruating live outside of the city for a few weeks.
My fuck, I wish I could live outside of the city right now. Like, I wish that I lived outside of this house right now.
Oops. All right, I'm in trouble, folks.
You're not in trouble. I knew he was a transphobic piece of shit. That's why I invented the Church of Sexual Humanism. That's why I funded a scholarship to
That's right.
send an LGBT person to university in Kentucky in this bitch's name. Because I know he's a transphobic, homophobic, bigot-ass bitch who uses his bigotry to fund his ministry,
Yep.
as most of them do.
Part of the reason why I started this the way I started this is because I know people come to me and say, well, who is Ken Ham really affecting? Who really believes in this? Does it matter? And I wanted to start with this to show, look, he's talking about how he's affecting 30 million people at a time. And in 2 weeks, he raised $20 million for a building for a stupid model. This is not a man who has no influence. I know that so many people can say, Ken Ham, his ideas are silly. So they're so silly. Why are we wasting our time? This man is reaching people, a lot of people.
That's what annoys me, is that so many people say that this is low-hanging fruit, right? That why should you pay attention to this? It's so clearly and obviously wrong on its face. Why are you wasting your time? Which is an easy thing to say if you perceive this endeavor as being one that's purely about intellectual superiority. If it's purely about demonstrating that we are the smarter ones as atheists or whatever, which is not a laudable endeavor. It's not an endeavor that I'm interested in. The reason that I do this and you do this and a lot of people do this is because it has a direct impact on people. And if that's what you care about, if that's what you're motivated by, if what your goals are is to make sure that people are okay and that we're taking care of people, then this is the type of person that you should pay attention to. He raises millions of dollars in a finger snap. Like that is influence. That is influence
Exactly.
that impacts people. And then he takes a bigotry break. So he's got that degree of influence. And if you care about that, you should want to counter it. It doesn't matter how silly and trivial you think his ideas are. His impact should be what matters. What he is doing, what his cultural impact is, what his societal impact is, what his legitimate, actual, quantifiable impact is should matter to you if this isn't purely an endeavor of demonstrating your intellectual superiority, which is not a goal that any type of person should really have if they give a shit about other people. That should not be your end game.
Exactly.
It annoys me when people say that, like, oh, I'm bored by young earth creationism. Good for you. There's
Yeah.
people that aren't, and they're helping craft legislations. They're helping mold culture. Like, just because you've moved past it doesn't mean that other people did, and you're just gonna give up. You're just gonna
Yep.
stop. It's silly because it goes beyond that. Also, trivially foolish to me and super self-centered.
As you walk through the pre-flood exhibit, you'll see 3 really exquisite dioramas.
I didn't realize the dinosaur gladiator arena was that tiny.
It's
Every picture I've seen of it made it seem like it was life size, but it's not. Evidently, it's a high school diorama project.
it's diorama.
Well, I wanted people to look at something here. Look at Tim, okay? And then you see this one here. It looks just like him because
Yep.
Tim modeled for this sculpture.
That's right.
This is old news. We've talked about this before, I think, in Hammy New Year.
So many. This is probably the least secret. Yeah, because if these are supposed to be the hidden gems, this was not hidden.
And it's important for mums and dads to
Whoa, is that Tim too?
Yeah, I don't know which employee that is, but I'd like to meet them, maybe.
That's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Poor bastard.
explain to their children what the world was like.
There's a fine line to walk, and it's really hard to figure out, did we go too far? Did we not go far enough? And you get complaints from both sides. Oh, you should have made it a lot worse because the world was a lot worse.
Worshipping E.T. and fighting dinosaurs was the epitome of the worst thing humanity ever did.
Each member of Noah's family is represented once per floor. So we saw them all at the prayer scene on the first deck. And in this deck, it's a little harder to find them. But you can see Shem's wife up there on this mezzanine or this catwalk.
What's her name? Say her name.
That's so funny, because he made it such a
Say
big
her
deal about how he
name.
gave him names. And that was just Shem's wife.
Right? Now it's just Shem's wife.
Yeah.
I thought you named these bitches, Tim. Say her name.
There are some animals you may have never heard of before because our artists and sculptors wanted to represent some of the extinct animals that we're not familiar with. So you're going to see some very unique creatures.
That's right, those that have gone extinct since the time of the flood that would have been on the ark.
Extinct.
Yeah.
But after that was clearly some sort of giraffe kind,
Right.
which I guess has its own kind because they need to explain the necks away.
Answers to Genesis accepts that giraffes and like gazelles and some of the other animals do have common ancestors. So again, according to Answers to Genesis, giraffe necks quickly evolved in the 2,000 years.
Got you. We've already done the math on that. So.
Yeah, the rate you and I calculated doesn't actually even account for species that went extinct.
Oh God, that's true. Because I just went for how many species existed on Earth today.
Right.
Yeah, these are existing.
So however many multipliers we would need to apply for the species that didn't make
went
it.
extinct. The dodo bird.
Right.
Fit
so,
in
right.
to
So
our
they
equation.
didn't get
Or the
counted, even
kookaburra.
though there would have been not only the dodo birds that we're familiar with, but also like other variations of the dodo bird.
Yeah, up to the point. Yeah.
Holy cow. Like, yeah, we're talking like every day, just hundreds of new creatures.
Now, as you walk along the second deck towards the bow, and there are many themed exhibits, and it's easy just to look at them and say, wow, that's fantastic, and move on to the next one.
It's not easy to do that. I'm willing to bet.
That sounds incredibly difficult to me. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Degree of difficulty impossible. It's so easy to be like, this is fantastic. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Have you seen our mannequins? They look like Tim.
Fantastic.
Have you looked up and seen our shit slats? Our shit slats are next level. Bar none. You will never find a ship with shit slats like our shit slats.
That's right. If you ask him all of the different questions, he'll point out some of the things, but not everything. So, for example, we've got a globe here that shows one continent, which is what we believe there was prior to the flood. And you'll see that represented in maps in the next.
Fucking page.
So we talked about the speciation numbers. What I love to think about is the hypercontinent splits that they hypothesized happened.
Yeah, the intense tectonic activity.
That in 1 year that they went from Pangea to the current layout. I did a video on this at one point, and the math was the continents were moving at roughly 2 meters a second.
They'd have to.
And
They'd absolutely have to. Could you imagine?
Yeah, and that's crazy speeds for whole continents to be like the kind of heat that would throw off.
If only they were able to use the metallurgy to reinforce that fucking boat.
Yeah.
Exhibit as well. So we've got different scrolls here. In fact, he's writing something right now.
That after the Tower of Babel, no one will understand.
Exactly. What language is he writing in, brah? What language?
So we've got different props that are here. Of course, you see the dove and the raven, which will come into play later on in the narrative. Some of the cages and scrolls that you see throughout. So a lot of different props here. You got Noah's wife back here as well.
Unnamed bitch number 3. Who could read? Good for her. Someone taught her how to read. Unless they just think that she appreciates the look of paper and they wanted to represent that. But she didn't write anything. And even if she could, nobody could have read it because Tower of Babel. I mean, even if she did, who was going to recount it? Because
it would have been recipes anyway.
She was some bitch. She was some nameless bitch. It would be recipes, exactly. It would be just like instructions on how to clean shit out of shit fountain staples that you make where animals just shit fountain on each other.
Shit fountain is a phrase that I can't unhear anymore.
Not my fault. Blame Ken.
Yeah, so over here we've got the wooden figures that are detailing the account of Adam and Eve and of course the forbidden fruit that they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah.
Hey, what picture of our ancestors should we take? Well, you should definitely take the picture of them doing the most deplorable thing that's ever happened.
The worst one, the one that led to this. The entire reason our whole family is just shoveling animal shit out of the animal shit waterfalls is this picture that was very detailed, this very detailed sculpture that we made out of wood, even though we had access to metallurgy And we use that for the sole purpose of just building that one rope.
Our story that we've got, our backstory of Noah, has him as a woodworker, a carpenter or a shipbuilder from a young age.
And that's just a little further down, the Who Was Noah exhibit.
That's right. That gives you a little bit of the backstory of how he could have acquired the skills he had. So actually,
Backstory? Wait! How do they know what his backstory is?
Tim wrote a series of 3 novels telling us about the backstory.
So Tim wrote some fucking fan fiction
He did,
based on nothing.
based on nothing.
Doesn't contradict the Bible, but isn't based on the Bible.
Correct.
About how Noah could have acquired these skills.
Whatever the maximum artistic license warning alert is, that's what you apply
heretical.
to.
That is heretical. God's message in the Bible stands on its own. It doesn't need any additions, and it does not need any interpretation. And if he is introducing that, that's heresy.
Deuteronomy 12:32, everything that I command to you, you should be careful to do. You shall not add to it or take away from it.
Oh, that's rough, Tim.
There are groups of Christians who totally think that the earth is only 6,000 years old, but that Ken's gone too far. Yeah.
Ken has gone too far.
Yeah.
And the reason Ken's gone too far is because he wants people to give him money.
Mm.
That would be a difficult road to hoe.
that's right.
On that
Yes, if you've got a kid who really likes puzzles and everything, they can interpret everything. In fact, what you see right here, there's a creature called Thylacus milis. It's got some fangs that kind of look like a
So it's like, I know people call it the incest and genocide park, but it's absolutely the heresy and capitalism park. Like, I don't know why Christians want to come here. They're totally exploiting you for your money, and you're just showing up, drooling on yourself. And I'm sorry that you do, but that's pathetic. Like, it's right in front of you. And if you can't see it, oh my fucking God, it's right in front of you.
saber-toothed cat. It's not one. But here there's some writing in a different color and it's written at a different angle. If you translate it, it says, watch out for sharp claws. And the reason for that is in the story that I wrote, not the biblical account.
That I wrote, not the biblical. Oh my gosh. The entire point of this park is to demonstrate that Noah's Ark is biblically accurate. If you come to this specific feature of this park, the only way that you will even fully appreciate it is if you read my heretical biblical fan fiction that I wrote in order to make this boat make sense. Anyway, we're giving away chick tracts in England, and we would super like it if you would throw money at us so that we can build a room to hold our plasticine model of Jerusalem, because we're the best Christians. Thanks a bunch. Wow. How do you say that with a straight face? Would you, Paul? Would you?
Would I what?
Well, as a Christian, would you have?
No, I would have had a problem with most of this, yeah.
And they get millions of dollars from the Christians. Why do I know more about this shit than the Christians? Could you even?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, a lot of people wonder what Noah did before the flood. Well, what if he was already a shipbuilder? And a lot of people don't think about it that way. So that was the backstory we presented for
It's
Noah in this
heresy.
exhibit called Who Was Noah?
Welcome to the Heresy Museum and the Heresy Encounter and the Tower of Heresy. All of this is heresy.
We're in a big exhibit at the bow end of the Ark on the third deck. It's called Searching for Truth, but there's a special video in here, and I call it the Bean video.
Nope, that's what we call it, the Bean video.
Not Mr. Bean.
No.
It
I'm not that funny.
actually stars Mr. Chafee,
Wow.
That's right.
Mr. Tim.
I've actually covered that video before on my channel, and it was very similar to the Michael Brown video recently was done,
Yeah.
which is basically we have all of these manuscripts, therefore what is written in the Bible was well preserved. And again, as I always say, generally we atheists aren't saying that it's not well preserved, we're saying it was made up to begin with. So
Can I say, and I know nobody who's watching this is going to maybe necessarily invest in my opinion, but your video to and your response to Michael Brown were my two favorite videos that you did this year.
oh, thank you so much.
By miles. That's the type of stuff I like as a fan of Paulogia. That's the stuff I like seeing from you. And I recognize that not everybody has the same sort of aspirations from you because you've diversified yourself so much and you hit so many different audiences. But this is a fair thing in a New Year's video.
Mm.
If I could ask people to watch one video that you made in the past year, it would be the response to Michael Brown and what's his face?
Jonathan McClatchy.
Jonathan McClatchy. Oh my gosh, isn't that awful? Because initially I watched his video and I was not charitable. When he did the response on Eric's channel,
Yep.
I was reactive and not charitable, and I heard him say something about him not watching your video before he said something, and I reacted immediately because for all intents and purposes, you're basically my spouse, right? Like, we live in the same house, we share a life. And I reacted viscerally, and I was wrong. He meant that he hadn't watched one of the initial videos, not the one that he was responding to. So I deleted my comment and I apologized to him because that's the right thing to do, right? Jonathan's not a bad person. Eric is not a bad person. And I don't think Michael Brown is a bad person either. And that's the type of dialogue that should be facilitated. And if anything, like, my behavior in that situation, being that reactive, I felt like didn't facilitate that type of conversation. And that's something I should own, because I was being emotionally and immediately reactive instead of taking a minute to try to fully absorb and understand the context. Like, I was just already annoyed because I adore you and love you and am protective of you, and was rife to be reactive as a result of that. And that's a lesson to learn, is that I shouldn't always be like that, because I will miss context. And I did in this instance.
That's why I don't ever record my first reactions. I take my dog out for a walk and yell at the air.
Right. And which I didn't have the opportunity. Like, I had just made sure, and this is such a lesson for everybody, that what I heard up to that point was what I heard. And it was. But if I had continued, I would have realized I was wrong. And it took Jonathan to message me charitably. He did not need to be charitable with me, but he was absolutely charitable with me. And I appreciate that. He could have been like, hey, bitch, why are you such an asshole? But instead, he said, I don't want anybody to think that I didn't listen to what Paul was saying to me, because I absolutely did. If there was a misunderstanding, I'm really sorry. Can you let me know where it came from? And it's sad that it took that. I should have done it initially. This is on me. It's 100% a Shannon problem. Is on me. It's sad that it took that for me to go back and listen and be like, you know what, Jonathan? You're right. Like, if I listen more charitably and less reactively, you're right.
I hadn't heard any of that story.
Yeah, no, you're hearing it just now. Like,
Yeah.
And I deleted the comment on Eric Manick's video because he was absolutely right. He was 100% right. I was just being emotionally reactive.
How we react to being wrong is much more important than being right.
Even if we think our opponents are still wrong about the point,
Right.
we acknowledge our faults. And that was a huge fault on my part.
Well, thank you for being a good example for all of us on that. That's great. All right, we're almost at the end here. Let's see if we can
Thank
get it.
fucking God.
So what did you do with all the coffee beans after you filmed that?
I wanted to reuse them, but those AV guys stuck their hands in them and started to redo it. So
okay.
they ruined it. So they actually put them in bags, and then some churches used them, out in the...
Oh my God. Wait. Did he just say I wanted to use them, but some AV guys put their hands in them, so we sent them to churches?
Yeah, so here, let me just save you from repeating. Hold
they
on.
weren't good enough for me because they had peasants touching them, so we sent them to churches.
Well, just
Wait.
but Chad, let me save you from doing another Jonathan level mistake here. Let me play one more sentence.
Because I could.
Let me play one more sentence and see how you feel.
Okay.
Not to make coffee, but
to drink.
for elements.
Okay.
So not to drink. They use them for visual elements in art.
Okay. All right. So they've reused the coffee beans they poured them out on their stage to demonstrate this. So they're just so everybody's just wasting the coffee beans because people have touched them.
Right, but at least fresh beans weren't being wasted each time.
Okay, you know what? Good evidence. Good example. Because I was just about to make the same mistake. I was like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You were like, people touch them, so I wouldn't allow them to be imbibed by me. However, the
Churches.
peasants at the local church require coffee.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Okay. All right.
And you weren't wrong, but one more sentence clears it up.
It was a faulty assumption based on this is an object lesson in how sometimes Shannon just goes, what the fuck?
Thank you for joining me on this exclusive look at some interesting behind-the-scenes features at the Ark Encounter.
We need money! Am I a prophet?
I like...
We need money, please. I know it's not true, but we still need money from you. That was my song I just wrote.
I like it.
Is it right? Am I a prophet?
More than anyone I know, Ken labels his own stories interesting. Thank you for joining me for these interesting details I just gave you. All right.
I mean, when you have a bottle of wine and 7 coolers, it's at least remotely interesting. Some of it was interesting. I liked it when he hugged that pole.
Let's see. Let's
I
just.
liked it when they all of a sudden had metal that they didn't have anywhere else. I thought it was interesting to explain why that was the case. There's interesting things about it. I think it's interesting that I'm drunk enough that my accent's evidently just like done. We're done. We're just talking in
Well,
my accent now.
Let's give him his last 20
Go
seconds.
ahead, Ken. Do you want money?
Be sure to check out our Things to Do and Events sections on the Ark Encounters
No,
website.
fuck you. I will not.
We're looking forward to your visit.
Blah, blah, blah.
All right, that was it. All right, now
Was
we're
that
done.
it? Was that, he just wanted me to know
I guess so. Apparently,
to
he
check
needed us to
out
know
his
that.
things to do? I will not.
I'm like,
I suggest others don't also.
we're a
Tanaka.
business that exists in 2022, and we have a website. Did you know? Yeah.
Did you know that I'm a piece of shit that wants all your money?
Hmm.
Did you? Were you aware? Happy New Year!
right,
Happy
well,
New
Hammy,
Year!
For those of you who stuck with us to the end, Hammy New Year.
Hammy New Year. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're still here. That sucks.
Well,
Thank you for being so resilient. I
That's right.
appreciate it. Maybe we were entertaining. I know I wasn't. Maybe you were. Maybe you'll interject things that I'm listening
that
to.
seems unlikely, but anyway, we'll go with it.
This
all
is
right.
our 6th year.
Sixth
Woohoo!
year.
Here's-
And here's to hopefully Ken does something cool around New Year's next year.
Ken doesn't do cool shit.
All
so
right.
don't hold your hopes out.
Okay.
Be a patron.
Until next time, later.
Elevate the discourse. Bitches! Don't name your bitches, though. That's not biblical.